Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side.
Hi, this is Kelly.
And this is Jenna.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Dinghy for Murder. I knew you were going to laugh. I knew it.
Stop playing with your dinghy.
Oh my God. So this is a dinghy like
a boat?
Like a boat, like a raft.
Yeah.
Like a life raft or whatever that you get. And you're going to like this because this is a bit of, I don't know if you want to say historical. It's not that old, but it's 1961.
That's historical to us. It's older than us.
Right. It's actually old. It's not like when like younger people listen and they're like, oh, it's in the 80s. It's like history.
That I know, vintage.
And I'm like, damn it. I remember when that song came out. Stop. Yeah. So we are in November 16th of 1961. And a Greek freighter named Captain Theo, which I feel like is like Captain Nemo or something like that. Wasn't there like a...
Or like a wrestler name.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It's kind of a funny name for a freighter.
That's great. Love it.
So there's this Greek freighter named Captain Theo, and it's sailing along the Northwest Providence Channel, which runs through two large islands of the Bahamas.
Oh, nice.
Okay, the channel runs like basically east to west, like the Gulf Stream and southern Florida is to the west, and the open Atlantic Ocean is to the east.
Okay.
And so it's this channel. So this freighter's going through the channel, right? And the second officer on the freighter noticed kind of a strange speck kind of bobbing on the waves. And there shouldn't have been anything out there. Right. Like this is, and they're like, well, that's weird. So he notifies the captain who steers the freighter towards this sighting to be like, well, okay,
like, is somebody in trouble? Does somebody need help?
Is this?
What is it?
They are shocked when the speck turns out to be a small oblong raft with a child on it.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing in sight. It's just open water, right? There's nothing.
And it wasn't one of those unicorn floaties that had gotten away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. No, it was 61. They didn't have fun floaties yet because Target didn't exist.
Yeah. So, Target. Dang it.
As the freighter gets closer, they realize it is a young blonde girl in a white cotton blouse and pink corduroy slacks. Like, she's not even in a swimsuit. Like she's
like, I was just out for a ride.
Right. She's kind of just feebly kind of waving to them like,
hey, what's up? How's your day going?
Right. The crew noted that there were sharks in the water surrounding the child.
Yeah.
And they yelled for her like, okay, you stay there. We're coming to you. Don't get off the raft.
They're waiting for you.
You stay there. And a crew member lowered a life raft and went out to get her. And she was then carried onto the freighter.
Oh, thank God they noticed.
Seriously. Well, part of the reason why they noted what she was wearing was she was blonde. Mm-hmm. She was light-skinned, except for severe sunburn at this point, right? Wearing a white blouse and these light pink corduroy slacks. And the little cork float that she was on was also white. So she kind of blended in with the white caps of the water.
Totally.
And so it was just kind of like the second officer was almost like, am I seeing something, or is that just a white cap? And is it bobbing? And then they went and got closer. Like they easily could have missed her.
God, poor thing. Okay.
So the child, she was, like I said, she was severely sunburned, dehydrated, and barely able to speak. She was kind of fading in and out of consciousness. She managed to tell the crew that she was 11-year-old Terry Jo Dupperalt, and that the ship she had been on with her family had sank several days earlier.
And somehow she knew not to drink like the ocean water and...
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Days, plural.
Baby. Oh, my God. How horrifying.
So the captain notifies the Coast Guard, and Terry Jo is airlifted to a hospital in Miami and put in the ICU. Good. And the news kind of dubbed her either the sea orphan or the sea waif is what that was their...
Waif.
Right. Yeah.
She thinks.
The sea waif, right?
At least she's not the sea hag, because that would suck.
Rude. 3 days earlier, on Monday, November 13th, a crew member of an oil tanker named the Gulf Lion. I don't know where they're getting these names from. The Gulf Lion.
At least it's not Captain Lion.
Right. They saw something drifting towards them, and as they got closer, they realized it was a man waving and frantically from a dinghy shouting, "Help, help, and I have a dead baby on board."
We don't want your dead dead people.
This is 3 days before Terry Joe was found.
Oh my God.
The crew pulled the man aboard the tanker, along with the deceased body of a red-haired little girl in a life jacket. The man told him that he was Julian Harvey, the skipper of the Bluebell, a sailboat. And Julian Harvey told them that at around 8:30 the previous night, the vessel he was sailing was hit by a sudden strong squall, which I had to Google because I didn't know what that meant, which is a sudden violent gust of wind or storm, especially one that brings like rain or snow or like just all like a big sudden
consumes it really suddenly. Okay.
The squall had caused the Bluebell to rapidly tip over, and the main mast snapped and pierced the ship's hull.
Oh, shit.
His wife had been on board and she had been injured, and they got separated. So he was in a separate area than his wife and the rest of the other people that were on the board when the mast fell. And he said he went to attempt to retrieve a wire cutter from the cabin to clear the deck space. I don't really understand what happened.
Okay, so things were all over the... Yeah, okay.
Right, but a sudden fire broke out on board. And he wasn't able to rescue his wife or any other passengers.
So, giant wet storm followed by fire, followed by... This is why I don't
frogs
sail.
And locusts.
Yeah.
No, okay.
And then sharks.
Right, exactly. So he was forced to abandon the ship on the dinghy. And as he was escaping, he saw the body of 7-year-old Renee Dupperwalt float towards him. She was one of the passengers. And he grabbed the little girl and attempted to revive her, but he was unsuccessful.
So he sailed around with her body.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was only like, I don't know, it was 8:30 the night before. Okay. So it was less than 24 hours.
Oh.
So Julian Harvey was taken to Nassau in the Bahamas and questioned by the authorities. They were kind of put off by how calm he was.
Oh, they didn't like
all
his
that had
demeanor.
happened, they were just like,
why are you so calm and why don't you seem
matter
to
of fact, right?
be freaking out? So he's the skipper, but he's not related to these people?
Right.
Okay.
He was the skipper. Is the skipper and the captain like the same thing? It sounds like it. It seems like it.
All I can think of with skipper is the doll I had that was Barbie's little sister.
Okay. See, I'm picturing like Gilligan's Island.
Oh,
the skipper.
for sure.
He was
and
the captain, right?
Too. Yeah, there was
exactly.
a captain.
So
I thought Gilligan was skipper. I don't know.
The skipper. No, because he always called the overweight white man the skipper.
Right.
The large,
that is what I'm going to call all
But he was also the
white
captain,
men.
right? He tells him that he's the skipper.
Oh, it is. The captain of a ship or boat. Yep.
See?
So it is not Barbie's little sister only.
Right. Yeah. See, this podcast is also educational. I just learned about the skipper and the captain and a squall.
Especially for those of us who are very landlocked and have no... idea of any boat terms. So yeah.
Right? This is all new information to me. All right. So they thought that was weird. They also thought it was really weird that he managed to have so many survival supplies with him on the dinghy.
Oh.
They're like, so like you got a lot of stuff on here for like
not just
having
the wire
to make
cutters. Yeah.
Quick getaway situation.
Interesting. Yeah. How did you grab all that? Like did he have time
maybe
to go
he was
below?
A Boy Scout and he just kept the dinghy stocked with shit. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's possible, but they found it a little like,
Yeah, that's interesting.
They were like, okay, but they performed an autopsy and it showed that little Renee had died from drowning.
Oh, baby.
So they're like, okay,
yeah,
maybe he was just a Boy Scout. Maybe he had a little to-go kit and he threw that in there right as he was, who knows, right? So they found it a little weird, but not weird enough to like be like, all right. So they let him return to Miami. Okay. Where he would be interviewed by the U.S. Coast Guard a couple days later. And he retold the story of the squall and that he suspected that when the mast broke and fell, it must have punctured the auxiliary gas tank of the ship. Oh. And that's what started the fire, right? Shit. So he had it all figured out, right? And that's what made it impossible for him to rescue anybody else aboard the ship.
But there's all this water.
Yeah. He was
Put some water on it.
He was questioned for 2 days. During the second day of his interview, Julian was informed that Terry Joe Dupperalt had just been rescued the day before.
Oh, did he shit his little wee pants, his dinghy? Did he shit his dinghy?
His dinghy, yeah. And they let him know that she is in critical condition and she's not talking to us yet, but she's improving. To which he excitedly said, "Oh my God," and then calmly added, "Isn't that wonderful?"
Oh, Oh,
well, isn't that just the best freaking news?
That's good news.
And they noted that something about his tone was suspect.
Yeah. Oh, we might have a witness to something.
Right. Okay. So okay, we're going to note that. He was told an official investigation into the loss of the Bluebell and her passengers was to be launched that day. So they're like, we are going to launch an investigation. We heard everything you had to say. We got Terry Jo. She's getting better.
Oh, believe me. Don't you just need to follow what I say?
Right. So Julian asked to be excused from any further questions.
Because he's shitting his dinghy.
Right. Well, he said he was exhausted, but maybe he also said, I have to change my pants. It's possible, right? Yeah. He asked to speak with his wife's family, and it said that his request was granted, but I don't know if he spoke with them or not. It just said that he asked to speak to his wife's family. Okay. And that request was granted. Ooh. If that happened, I don't know. Julian left wherever they were being questioned wherever the U.S. Coast Guard offices are or whatever, wherever he was, he left the inquiry and he drove to the Sandman Motel. If that's not a 1960s, Mr. Sandman, bring me a drink. I mean, is that not a 1960s name of a motel? Totally. Yes. Oh, yeah. So he drives this motel. He checks in under the name John Monroe.
No idea why. I'm going to change my name. Yeah.
Right. And pays cash for a room.
Okay. Doesn't want to leave a trail. Well, of course, credit cards weren't all that.
This is true.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Checks. I mean, they made a point of he paid cash for it. Well.
But back then.
Most people did, didn't they?
Yeah. Or checks, maybe. But I don't think.
Still, that's.
All right. Well, he didn't use doubloons or whatever.
Right. No,
common.
He did not.
Maybe that's why. He was not a
being
pirate.
A sailor and all. Pirate? No. 2 hours later, a maid came into his room. Also found that weird. Why would the maid go into a room that was checked into? But
yeah, maybe whatever. He was like, will you fluff my pillows?
Would you like mint for pillow? Yeah. Okay. She came in. She was a little scared to notice that she saw blood on the bed sheets.
Dinghy. He shit his dinghy.
A lot.
A lot.
Then she realized that she couldn't open the bathroom door. So she notified the manager of the motel, who called police. And the police came and they forced the door open and found Julian Harvey dead.
Oh, Julian.
This is a trigger warning. You might want to fast forward for just 10 seconds. He had died of an apparent suicide, having slashed his thigh, his ankles, and his jugular vein with a razor. So yeah, she probably found some blood.
Painful. Dang.
I'm guessing he started with the lower level things first and then realized this isn't working. And that was painful. He should have just started. Okay. Trigger part over.
Yeah, I'm triggered.
He left a suicide note, which was addressed to a close friend from his days in the military. But the note left no explanations or apologies.
Well, that sucks.
But at least they knew that
we need answers.
Anyway, so he didn't really explain himself, but it was a suicide note. So they knew it wasn't foul play, right? It's pretty obvious anyway. But, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He requested that this friend that he addressed the note to take care of his 14-year-old son, Lance.
Oh, no. He left behind a kiddo.
Yeah.
Dude.
And he requested to be buried at sea. He ended the note with the sentence, I got too tired and nervous. I couldn't stand it any longer.
So,
suspect.
yeah, you did something. But also for his funeral, I would like to see a Viking's funeral. That would be better.
Is that where you set sail and then you do like the lit arrow on fire? Okay.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Checking.
Okay. So
didn't know what a squall was, but I knew that.
But no, this one. So Brianna, they had chickens.
Okay.
My friend Brianna.
Tell me they didn't give the chickens a Viking funeral.
Oh, my God. She asked the kids, this chicken died, asked the kids, okay, what kind of ceremony do we want to have for the chicken? And yeah, they agreed on a Viking funeral. So they filled their kiddie pool with water. Don't spit laugh. And
stop, I just took a big sip of water.
And yeah, lit arrow. It took a few tries.
Did they puncture the kiddie pool in the process?
It was a plastic one. One of those hard side ones. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. You got the melted plastic smell going there.
Oh, my God.
Lights the lawn on fire.
Yes. Oops. Starts the forest on fire. Yes. I was like, that is true good parenting. Like, seriously.
Next time we're just going old-fashioned burial. Something a little less dangerous.
Sorry, kids. That was a little dramatic.
The next day, Terry Jo was finally well enough to meet with investigators.
Oh.
We're going to give you some background on what led up to these events.
Oh, good. So this is from Terry.
Some of it is from Terry, yes.
Okay.
Some of it's from Terry and some of it's from, the investigation. 40-year-old Arthur Dupperalt, his wife Jean, who was 38, and their 3 children, Brian, who was 14, Terry Jo, 11, and Renee, 7.
Oh.
They were all from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Arthur was a successful optometrist. And when he was younger, he served in World War II. And during that time, he sailed the Florida Keys and the Bahamas.
Oh, man.
And it was always his dream to go back to the area with his wife and kids and do like a week-long family cruise because he just fell in love with that whole area, right?
I can imagine.
Right? So the family saved for several years to make this dream come true. And by the summer of 1961, the Dupperalt family had saved enough money and planned to sail that fall. As soon as the Wisconsin weather started to turn to crap.
Yeah.
They're
let's get away.
Then we're going to head to the Bahamas. Brilliant, right?
Yes.
So I may have waited till like January when it's shit really hits the
when
fan.
you're like
whatever.
So tired of the cold.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
But whatever, that was their plan.
It's a good plan.
The idea was that they were going to spend a week living at sea aboard a chartered yacht, and they were going to dock at several locations in the Bahamas. And potentially, if everything went well, they might even extend it. Right? I was like, man, how long did they save?
Amazing.
Also, optometrists made a lot more money than I thought then.
Yeah.
Although
yacht.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That'd be amazing. Okay, that does sound like a good one. I was imagining a little sailboat.
No, it was a little bigger.
Me.
I don't know that it was yacht, but it was a sailboat. Okay. So in early November 1961, the Dupperalt family arrived in Fort Lauderdale, and they chartered a 60-foot sailboat named the Bluebell.
Okay.
Right.
Ice cream. They have made good ice cream too.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And get this. Well, in 1961, it was $515 to charter this sailboat for a week.
Dang, man.
Right? Inflation, baby.
It'd be like 50,000 now or something. I can't imagine.
God, right? Arthur hired a well-known local yachtsman who he had previously met named Julian Harvey.
Here he comes.
Yep, to skipper the boat for $100 a day. So the renting of the boat and the skipper was $615. I mean,
that's
damn.
Amazing.
And Julian's wife, who was a former stewardess and an aspiring writer named Mary Dean Harvey, she came along to act as the cook.
Oh, hell yeah.
So they even have a cook, right? They don't even have to make their own meals. I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Julian was 44 years old and Mary Dean was 34. It was his 6th wife.
Ooh.
At 44, damn.
Yeah. Dang, dude.
Dang, right?
Girl, like after the second, you need to start maybe not dating people that have been married that many times.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. It's that, it's the common denominator in all these divorces. I know one.
Yep.
So the Bluebell set sail on the afternoon of Wednesday, November 8th. And over the next 4 days, the boat docked at several locations in the Bahamas as planned. They purchased souvenirs. They went snorkeling. It sounds fabulous, right? On Sunday, November 12th, Arthur Dupperalt and Julian Harvey visited the office of British District Commissioner Roderick Pinder. And Arthur told the commissioner that this has been a once-in-a-lifetime vacation and we will be back before Christmas. Like everything went exactly like he was hoping. We're going to do this again. Okay, so it went really well.
Until it didn't.
That was Sunday, November 12th. If you go back to the beginning of the story, Julian Harvey was discovered the next day. So
right. Ooh.
That day was the last day anybody talked to anybody on the Bluebell. Okay. When they stopped at the Bahamas. Okay. So that evening, Mary Dean served everyone chicken cacciatore and salad. I mean, we're not talking yeah, I know.
I was thinking mac and cheese or something.
Right. Nope. Nice stuff. And they set sail back toward Florida. Around 9 p.m., Terry Jo decided that she was tired and she wanted to go to bed.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Cool.
Get it.
And the rest of her family and the Harveys stayed up on the deck of the ship. It was a beautiful night. Terry Jo went to go sleep. She was sleeping in a little cabin below deck at the back of the boat that she was sharing with her little sister.
Oh, I'm getting like, ooh, that
Okay.
idea. Well, just the thought of being underwater in a boat, it freaks me out. I gotta
Yeah.
say, the thought of
My friends had, my best friend growing up had a boat up in Wisconsin, and they went every weekend, and I would go sometimes. I think the little sleeping cabin we slept in, I don't think you couldn't see out, but only the lower part, like underneath where the mattress was really below water. Oh. The rest of where we were, if you could have seen out, was above water.
Okay. It's still,
Like, you're like, nope.
I still need an escape hatch, like a really quick one. Oh.
Okay. So anyway, so she normally shared that with her sister Renee, but she was in there alone because Renee was still upstairs, right?
Right.
With her, with the family.
She just wanted to go to sleep.
When she was finally able to talk to investigators, she told them that she was startled awake at some point in the middle of the night. She didn't know because she had fallen asleep.
Right.
By the sounds of her brother Brian screaming, "Help, Daddy, help."
Oh, no.
Followed by running and stomping from the deck above.
Oh, shit.
And then silence. And she was kind of like, doing that whole like, did I
really hear
that? Am I awake? What time is it? What's going on? Was that like for real, or are they playing? Like just kind of sitting there for a minute. And she was scared and confused. She just kind of sat there for a few minutes. And when she didn't hear anything else, she was like, well, I'm up now. Let me just go see what's going on. Yeah,
maybe I'll go see. Oh, God.
She climbed the stairs to go back up on the deck and peeked out the hatch.
Okay.
There she saw her mother and her brother laying in a pool of blood just outside the main cabin.
What? Ooh.
And she said kind of how they were laying kind of heaped there. She took one look and knew that they were dead.
It's like Cape Fear. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, that movie was intense.
Maybe that's why I'm so afraid of little
Maybe
boats.
that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, that's legit right there.
Seriously, that was a good one.
Oof. Okay. And yet she still climbed out of the hatch and walked up onto the deck. She saw that, right? She did.
Whoa, fearless.
And Captain Harvey kind of came out of nowhere carrying a bucket. And he yelled, "Get back down there," and hit her and shoved her back down the stairs.
Oh,
so
shit.
She's like, so she scrambles back to her sleeping cabin and just hides. And she said she estimated it was about 15 minutes later, as she's just kind of like, oh my God, what is going on?
God, then you're really stuck.
Right. That water started gushing into her little cabin.
See?
Like by
this
the floor.
Is what I'm talking about. This is what, no.
You're not going on a sailboat anytime soon, are you?
No.
Well, and she noted that it wasn't just water. It was kind of like smelly, oily smelling water.
Oh no, like gasoline.
Right. But she was too scared to move.
Oh, baby.
She was like, this guy just screamed at me and hit me. I'm not going anywhere, right? So she just kind of sits there like trying to figure out what to do. Remember, she's like 11.
Yeah.
Then Captain Harvey appeared in the doorway carrying what looked like a rifle.
No.
And she said that because she said that possibly it was the one that her brother had brought on the trip. I don't know why you bring a rifle, but whatever.
His bayonet,
right? She said it said rifle. I'm like, BB gun? I don't, BB gun rifle? I don't know. But he was holding that, or that's what it looked like. And that they just kind of stared quietly at each other for a few minutes. And Terry Jo was too scared to move or talk. And then the captain just suddenly turned and went back up on the deck.
Whoa. He's like, oh, you're going to drown here anyway. I'm just going to leave you.
Yeah, I think so. So Terry just kind of sat there frozen, listening to what she said sounded like hammering noises from above.
Oh, my God.
And she's realizing that her cabin is filling up with water.
Yeah.
And it is now coming up onto the mattress.
No.
So she's like, well, I can't stay here.
Cut and run. Yeah.
Right? So she was like, okay. So she finally decides she's got to leave the cabin, and she has to wade through waist deep water at this point to get to the stairs to go up. So she gets there. She makes it to the deck, and she sees that the ship's dinghy and the rubber life raft were now floating beside the boat. They're no longer in the boat.
Yeah, they've been cut.
They've been cut, and they're now floating beside the boat. So she just kind of yells out, "Is the ship sinking?" And
Universe.
Is the ship sink? Anybody? Like, I shouldn't know where her. Right. Captain Harvey appears behind her and says yes, and shoves the line to the dinghy into her hands and says, "Hold this."
Oh, okay. How about I jump in it?
But she's scared and she's startled and she kind of doesn't grab the rope and the rope slips through her hands.
Ooh.
And
shit.
now the dinghy is like drifting away from the ship. He gave her the line to like, so it doesn't.
Yeah, so it doesn't drift.
Right. So Captain Harvey dives overboard and swims toward it. And then she loses sight of him in the dark.
Oh my God. So scary.
So she's terrified. She's alone. She's on a sinking ship. She doesn't see anybody. She doesn't hear anybody. And her survival instincts kick in. She remembers that there was a cork float attached to the top right of the main cabin. So she works her way over to the cabin, which is just barely above water at this point. And she's able to untie it as the deck of the ship goes under.
Holy shit.
And she said she half crawled, half swam to the float and climbed in it. But one of its lines was snagged onto the ship as it's going down. Your face right now, you're like freaking.
No, that's not my nightmare. No.
For a few seconds, the little cork float is going underwater.
No.
But then the line broke loose and it floated
God.
back to the top of the water.
Okay.
So now this cork float, this is not even a dinghy. It's only 2 feet wide by 5 feet wide. It kind of looks like an oblong flat donut.
Oh.
And it's open in the middle and it just has like netting across it, like rope netting.
Oh God, that's creepy. That's exactly where sharks can get your legs off.
Well, right. Okay. So it's not very deep, but like it also means that if you're sitting in it, you're in the water. You're not keeping from getting wet, right?
Oh Lord. That sounds like a nightmare. Yikes. So that thing is like, it floats, but it's like one of those water toys that you kind of lay out on. And
It's not really, it's obviously not the life raft. It's not the dinghy. It's, this is like a, right? So, right. So she can't sit in it or on it and be out of the water. To stay out of the water, she basically has to just sit up on the edge.
Oh, Jesus.
Right. Because the entire center is just netting.
Yeah.
Right. So she gets up on the net. The boat is gone. The boat went under.
Okay. Bye.
It's pitch black out. She's got no idea where Captain Harvey is. So she just stays quiet and huddled as low as possible because she's terrified of him. She doesn't know if he's coming back for her.
Do not.
She doesn't know where the rest of. She doesn't know where her father is or her brother. No, I'm sorry. She knows where her brother is. Her brother and her mom, she was sure was dead, but she didn't know.
Yeah, her dad.
Or her sister, her dad or her sister, right?
Oh.
She's got no food, no water, nothing to protect her from the cold, and it starts to rain.
Oh, God, stop. It's like one thing after another.
I know. So the next morning, the sun comes out, and that was fantastic because it warmed her finally because she was so cold. But as the day went on, it's blazing sun.
Yeah.
She's got nowhere to hide. Like I said, she was wearing those pink corduroy pants and just like a thin white blouse. And she's fair skinned. She's like a very blonde little girl. She's got no natural sun protection in her body whatsoever.
Oh, shit.
And so the sun is burning her skin. The salt water is burning her eyes and her lips. She must have figured out that, hey, it's not helping me to drink this water.
Don't do that.
And the cork float was starting to disintegrate. The netting,
all the salt water.
It wasn't really meant for long-term use. Apparently, I don't know exactly what the.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was meant to be like. I keep picturing it like from the pictures that I saw. Like, you know how there's like a little life preserver like that hangs on the side, and they're hard and they're flat.
Yeah.
It was like that, but oblong and then with netting in the middle. I think it was meant for like a quick rescue, not for like anyone to hang on to, right?
Oof.
So her legs and her feet were exposed to parrotfish in the water that have apparently sharp teeth. Right. So she's basically just kind of got a perch on the edge of this.
Oh my.
Yeah, I know.
That's horrifying. Ugh.
Right. But she manages to survive the rest of that day and that night. The next day was the same.
Oh, God.
By the third day, she absolutely has to balance herself on the outer ring because the netting was
gone.
Yeah. Well, I saw a picture, so I guess it was still there, but it just wasn't, it couldn't support her or anything or her weight.
Disintegrating.
So she was drifting in and out of consciousness. Finally, on the fourth day.
Oh, good Lord. How do you survive that long without water?
Water, food, not knowing where she's 11. She awoke to like this dark shadow
Oh, okay.
And that was that
The ship.
the freighter, right?
Oh, thank God.
So it was the freighter that eventually pulled her out of the water. So she was alone at sea for 3.5 days. They estimated about 82 hours.
Oh my God, it'd be so horrifying and so lonely. You'd probably start losing your mind.
She said she like would drift in and out of consciousness, that she hallucinated a couple of times. She hallucinated that she talked to her dad. She hallucinated that she saw like an island, like all kinds of.
Oh my God.
So when Terry Jo recovered enough that she was finally interviewed, she informed the investigators that the Bluebell was not on fire before it sank. There was no fire.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, she was down in it.
It was right. She's like, I was on the boat. I was in the boat. I watched it sink. It was dark. There was no fire. And then they informed her that Captain Harvey had been found 3 days before she was rescued, along with the body of her little sister. So she knew for a fact that Renee didn't make it. And they said that the bodies of the rest of her family and Mary Dean Harvey were lost at sea. Oh,
shit.
Right.
Oh, this poor girl.
I know. So the formal investigation that was conducted revealed what events led up to the fateful last night of the Bluebell.
Okay.
So although Julian Harvey was a decorated World War II veteran and a Korean War pilot, it turned out he had a long history of difficulty holding a job for any length of time.
Well, yeah, because you kill all your people that are paying you. That's
well, this is before that. But sounds like he never was able to hold on to a job.
Oh, my God.
And this led to serious financial issues, right? He and his latest wife, Mary Dean, had only been married for 4 months.
Oh, geez.
At the time that the Bluebell sank. And shortly afterward, after they got married, like a month after they got married, he took out a $20,000 double indemnity insurance policy out on her that would pay double should she die accidentally.
Okay, so we're going to kill this whole family and her
accidentally on purpose.
Shit.
He had only been working for a month as the captain of the Bluebell.
Dude.
The ship's owner, Harold Pegg, had hired him to take tourists on cruises in exchange for $300 a month pay and free accommodation on board.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sweet deal. So,
that's pretty cool.
Right?
You get a place to live free.
Right, and his wife stays on board with him too, right? So they don't need a house. They live on the boat. So he'd only been employed to do this for a month. And the investigators suspected that Julian had planned to murder his wife at sea and then claimed that she had vanished and use any tourists aboard as witnesses to support his story. And the Dupperalt family were his very first clients.
Oh, God. This dude. Oh, my God. Give it some time, maybe.
As investigators dug into Julian Harvey's background, they found that he had survived a 1949 car accident that had killed his second wife and her mother. The car he was driving had gone off a bridge on a rainy night. Okay. Julian had swam to safety, but the two women drowned. And he received an insurance settlement after that accident.
Yeah.
Don't know. That could have been a legit accident. And that could have been like a, hey, here's a way to make money.
That was easy.
Or it could have not been an accident. It could have been a planned accident.
Could have been he planned
not
that.
Really sure.
Oh, my God.
But also to support their theory of what happened on the Bluebell was that a ship that Julian had sailed sunk in shallow water after he ran it into the submerged wreckage of another ship.
Maybe let's not hire this guy.
Right, I know.
Oh, my God.
I don't know how he got a reputation as a good, I don't know where that came. I don't know. This is obviously the days before Yelp, right? Yeah. Where like random people can review you, because I don't know where Arthur Dupperalt got his info.
Yeah, because this guy is not a good skipper. He sucks. He runs into boats that are stalled.
I know. On that ship, crew members reportedly warned Julian, like, steer clear. You're getting close to the known wreckage site. But he repeatedly navigated the vessel around it was a restricted area. And he kept going in there, claiming he was trying to read the inscription on a buoy that marked the site. He's like, I just want to get a little closer and read what this says.
It's not a memorial. It's a buoy.
Does it just say don't sail here? You're too close, back up, asshole? Like, I don't know. And after that happened, he received a large insurance settlement.
Great. Yeah.
And then there was a second ship that he sailed that sunk under suspicious circumstances off the coast of Cuba.
Oh, my.
And again, he received an insurance settlement. So the investigators were fairly certain that their theory was probably spot on, right?
Yeah.
They're like, look,
I mean, pretty much fits.
Right?
He's got a history here.
The inquiry into the fate of the Bluebell concluded that a member of the Dupperalt family either caught Julian Harvey in the act of murdering his wife or disposing of his body.
Oh, God. Her
and
body.
Because it seemed like the plan was, hey, I'm going to have witnesses.
Right.
But if they witnessed
the actual
murder or the getting rid of the body, well,
absolutely,
well, shit.
There's a problem.
Right. And so he was like, well, looks like I'm going to have to take out the whole family now.
Oh, no.
You know, not leave any witnesses. And they suspected that he retrieved little Renee's body from the ocean to try to add credibility to his story.
Gross, dude.
Right?
Psycho.
Well, and she'd be easy to manage, right? Because she was
little.
7. And she had a life preserver on. So I don't know. But you know what? He could have put that on postmortem.
He could have. Absolutely.
He could have. So, you know, it's hard to say. Had he not committed suicide, Julian Harvey would have been prosecuted for the murder of his wife, Mary Dean, Arthur, Jean, Brian, and Renee Dupperalt, and the attempted murder of Terry Jo Dupperalt. So they're like, oh, no, we would have prosecuted him. They were really confident, right? Terry Jo recovered. She really had no serious injuries, and she had no long-term health issues, which is amazing. So she returned to Green Bay to live with her father's family. She refused to ever get rid of the blouse and slacks that she wore at the time of her rescue.
Wow.
She held on to them. And she ended up changing her first name to Terry. But okay, so her name was Terry Jo, Terry space J-O. And her little sister's name, Renee, was Rene. So for whatever reason, she changed her name to Terry, Tere.
Okay.
I guess she said she didn't want to be known as, she didn't want to be victimized, right? And be famous for being this victim. But I have a feeling maybe it was also like a little bit in honor of her sister. That's what I think.
A little nod to her sister's name.
Yeah.
Oh.
In the early 1960s, trauma counseling really didn't exist. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so no one talked to her about what happened or asked her about what happened. Like they just, they just were like, let's just move on.
Yeah,
like
let's
none of that
everything's fine.
Happened, right? She didn't receive any counseling or any trauma counseling they just didn't talk about it. They didn't, oh my gosh. So because of this, she didn't speak publicly about the accident or her miraculous survival for more than 20 years.
Oh my God. And can you imagine like how the fear around certain things that you would encounter, the terror dreams and all the nightmares?
Yes.
You're alone.
I mean, oh my gosh, I can't, right? Oof. I mean, horrible. Mm-mm. In 2010, she released her memoir. It was called Alone, Orphaned in the Ocean.
Whoa. Yeah.
And she started doing TV interviews. I believe she was on, I want to say she was on Dr. Phil, but I could be imagining that. But I know she talked to certain people and she did some TV interviews. She has absolutely no idea why Julian Harvey left her alive on the ship. I know he probably assumed she was going to drown.
Yeah, he probably was.
She's like, he stood there with a gun and stared me down.
And could have just shot her.
Right. So she still lives in Wisconsin and is married with 3 children.
Oh, I'm glad she made it out, but what a freaking tragic life.
Right? Isn't that holy cow?
Oh, being underwater.
I know. Oh my gosh. I don't know how she survived. That's just absolutely amazing. So that is the story of the sea orphan or the sea waif and the one dinghy for murder. The dinghy. The dinghy.
Wow. That's a good story.
Do you want to hear my sources?
Yeah. I
okay.
You got this.
Okay. Get this. So my main source was Reader's Digest.
Whoa, we're getting old. Did you eat prunes while you were doing it? Yep.
I did not, but I do remember my grandmother used to have like the Reader's Digest like on her coffee table.
Totally.
And sometimes when I was bored, there's some good stories in there,
good stories. Yeah, there's good health tips.
Yeah, right. So it was the Reader's Digest article, Orphaned on the Ocean, the Unbelievable Story of Terry Jo Dupperwalt.
Wow.
I also got information from allthat'sinteresting.com.
It's a great one.
And then Wikipedia, which is also where I Googled, what's a squall?
Yes. Yeah.
So I try to educate myself as well as all of you.
Yes.
While I write these
good
stories.
For us landlocked people that do not understand.
Right. We learn
anything.
A couple new things.
We do.
Right?
Each time. Not that we remember them, but yeah, we learn them in the moment.
I did simplify and dumb down a little of the information on like when the mast came down and all, because they were using all kinds of boat terms, and I'm God. I don't even know how to tell you what this is without literally word for word, because I don't know what I'm reading.
Right. How easily he could have gotten away with all that.
Oh, seriously. I mean, if she hadn't survived, there was no other.
He'd have been fine.
It would have been absolutely
and it would have kept happening.
Right.
And on to the seventh wife.
Oh, God. Right? Oh, my gosh. Sixth wife. My God. Like,
disgusting.
Really? Woo!
Woo!
Like, I have a picture of him. We're not talking James Dean or anything, man. I don't know how he got that many chicks. I really don't. Flashing the insurance money from the previous wife? I don't know.
Good story. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another edition of 1D for Murder.
Yes. And I want to remind people to be sure to check out our Patreon account, because we have a bunch of mini-sodes on there, and there was a recent release of a new one. So,
that was a fun one. Holy cow. Yeah, we have little extra ones on there.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Hey, Oddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on the Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM Podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.